Wuthering Heights, let's get this straight. Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi are incredibly good-looking people, especially when they're mourning somebody. Comes in at a 64% on the tomato meter, so a little bit of a mixed reactions. Let's talk about it. It is indeed a sensual movie for sure. Now, if you've read the book Wuthering Heights, then you know what you're getting into. But if you haven't, for some reason, Wuthering Heights 2026 is a remake of a lot of iterations of this story. And it tells the tale of a passionate and tumultuous love story set against the backdrop of the Yorkshire moors, exploring the intense and destructive relationship between Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw. Now, I don't remember them saying her last name in the movie, to tell you the truth, because most of the time I'm staring at Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, who do have good chemistry. If romance is your bag, then this movie has it in spades. It has all the classic, well, kind of cliches, because I'm sure that this is where all the cliches were born. And it's pulled off excellently by these two. They have to carry it. It's filmed beautifully. I saw it in a 4K Dolby Cinema, and it just looked absolutely amazing on the big screen. Story-wise, coming out of the theater, my reaction was I liked 90% of this movie. I found myself surprisingly shocked that I would like it this much. Now, you have to know that I'm from the perspective that I never really saw or read the story. I kind of knew somewhat of the characters, but I didn't know how it was going to end. It's got a lot of set pieces that are augmented with CG, like here and stuff like that, but it's hardly noticeable because they try to keep it contained to rooms, and it's directed by Emerald Fennell, who does a really good job here. And I think for the most part, if you're just looking for romance, some steamy kind of kissing in the wet rain kind of stuff, then this movie's going to be your bag. You're going to like this movie. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, so it does have a bit of a long run time. But as I said, I liked about 90% of this movie, and it all came down to that ending where it's going to work for some and it's not going to work for others. The only thing that I can tell you is that when I stood up in the theater, I heard people saying, well, that's not how the book ended. So I'm going to tell you straight up, from what I understand, it doesn't end the same way that the book ends. So I'm sure it's probably got to allude to it because I had to Google it and figure that out. But I don't think that it is anywhere near as bad as what people are saying with the 64% there on the tomato meter. So I would say that for Valentine's Day this weekend, go check it out. So with that being said, let's fill in some numbers here on my score sheet for Wuthering Heights. Acting, directing, and story are out of a possible 2 points. Cinematography and score are out of 1 point. Now, the acting, Jacob Elordi, Margot Robbie, as I said, carry this movie. And it's got a good supporting cast as well. I was actually pleasantly surprised by that supporting cast, who helped fill out the rest of the scenery with what they have to do. So there's some main characters from the story you may want to know, like Nellie, Edgar, and was it Tillman, or no, it was, yeah. But then the parent, Earnshaw. Okay, so yeah, and then Joseph. I think he was from House of the Dragon, wasn't he? Amond in House of anyway. It's got a really good supporting cast, and Alison Oliver. Isabella did a good job too. And my God, did some of the relationships get really weird in this movie. And a lot of that made you feel, ew, because of the good performances, because of the nature of the subject matter as well. But I just wanted to say that the acting is why you want to go see this. The set pieces are good. The directing, the technical aspects, it's well framed, it's well shot, and based on that, I would give that their due points But as far as the execution of the story, I'm going to give 1.5 because of the way that it ended. It felt like, okay, we're going in a certain direction. We know where this is going to go, or do we? And then it just kind of it wraps up rather quickly. And you kind of wanted to see a little bit more, right? Now, maybe that was just my first reaction to it of like, okay, I felt like I needed to see more, but maybe on a second viewing, you would realize, okay, well, maybe we don't need to have that drawn out. But for right now, I'm going to say 1.5. The story, it's classic, I would say. And there are some things in here that feel like it was truncated, like her going to the mansion next door to meet her new husband and stuff like that. We didn't really get to see a whole lot of that stuff because they really wanted to focus in on these two, right? Um, and all that stuff worked for me. So I gotta say, even though that I say that I didn't like the ending, I'm still gonna give the story a 1.5 because it does make me want to go and check out some other iterations of this story that I found to be very curious in my investigation because I didn't realize that Tom Hardy, I guess, did a version of this, and that was a series. And I think that's his girlfriend or his wife or something. I guess they must have met on that one. But anyway, yeah, cool. I didn't know that. So let's go back to the score sheet and wrap up the cinematography and score. Cinematography, I'm going to give a full point because it is breathtaking, and try to see it on the big screen because some of the landscapes that they're able to capture really helps you immerse you in that world, right? Score, oh, Charlie XCX does a lot of good stuff in here. So there are some good needle drops, but it's not over the top. It doesn't pull you out of it. Like you're not watching this and then all of a sudden a big pop song comes on and it accents the movie and highlights it in a way that I would say kind of like that movie Marie Antoinette, right? That Sofia Coppola did, where Kirsten Dunst was accented with the pop kind of music. It wasn't like that, but it has needle drops kind of like in that vein. So know that going in. Let's go back to the tomato meter here and start taking a look at what some of the reactions are, and then we'll go and wrap up my score sheet here because you can see that it's not going to be as low as 64, but it does have its problems for sure, right? So let's see what the critics are saying. There's fun to be found in this pulpy, carnal, proudly idiotic Wuthering Heights. Idiotic. I don't know if I would say that. The final product, all said, is a visually rich, transportive, if simplistic story of love denied. Yeah, there's a scene in this where they reference Romeo and Juliet, and I guess maybe that was some of the inspiration for this. And then if you know that story, then you were like, okay, you're foreshadowing something here. So I was anticipating certain beats along the way, and I guess it did that. So for the most part, those critics seem to like it. We'll find some that don't, but the audience who have gone to see this seem to have really liked it. Definitely not Wuthering Heights, but for sure messy and tragic. Yes, 10 out of 10, love it. It's definitely a different iteration. You get that tone even though that I haven't read the story or seen other versions of this. Well done. It was stylistic. Costumes were great. I enjoyed this movie. Yeah, it is enjoyable. As I said, like 90% of it. It's that ending that it sits with you and it's like, is this really something that works for me? I'm not sure. Very dark and sad, but amazing to watch chemistry between Robbie and Elordi. And that truly is the standout. Robbie and Elordi. Like I can't say it enough. The camera loves them. When they're on the screen, it's dark in the Highlands or wherever the heck they are. And it's just like, okay, I buy it. But do I buy her as a young, naive person who has never experienced love before? Maybe not. You got to stretch your imagination at times. But that's okay. Going over to the other critics here, let's find somebody who didn't like it. Click Fish. It may encourage audiences to seek out Bronte's book, and then they in turn might wonder how it manifested into Fennell's overindulgent, incoherent, and confusing vision. So that's somebody who's read the book who doesn't like all the changes. I cannot understand that. And if you're somebody like that, then you've got to brace yourself. You really got to brace yourself. A diluted fan fiction stripping away the context of generational trauma. So I didn't get any inkling of generational trauma from this. I did get socioeconomics and classism and A little bit of racism as well. I did get those notes. While spicy, it completely glides over the fact that it's basically trauma, okay, P word, and toxic age regression adult child syndrome. So it looks like a lot of people who read the book are familiar with the story didn't like it. Well, let's find some people who did like it. A naughty and audacious literary adaptation, although not quite on the level of her first two films. She directed Saltburn and Promising Young Woman. Okay. Now, so she did work with Jacob Elordi on Saltburn, right? Um, I felt like this is a worthy entry. It's interesting enough. You're not going to leave it going, I feel like I wasted my time. There's going to be enough in here for you to sink your teeth into and be like, okay, I kind of I understand what they were going for. And I think if you can do that, it's worth the watch. And you'll be like, okay. It is spicy at times. It is racy. Well, surprisingly, not a whole lot of nudity, but it's like a lot of suggested stuff. And it's just like, it goes there. So 64%, I'm not quite like that. Let's wrap up my score sheet here for Wuthering Heights. Watchability factors out of a possible 2 points each. 2 points. And I would say that if this trailer caught your eye, if you're a fan of Margot Robbie, if you're a fan of Jacob Elordi and you want to see where the subject matter is, 8 out of 10 is a little high for me. It is. But I'm not going to knock it down. I'm not. Because as I said, I'm a big fan of movies like Marie Antoinette, and this is somewhat, I felt like, in the same kind of vein. So I dug it. Now, it's not something I want to rush back to because it's a real bummer. but that's the way some romance movies are, right? So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and we will talk about it. Hey, if you like this kind of thing, 8 out of 10. That's a little high. It is. Challenge me on it. If you like this kind of thing, we just reviewed Crime 101 with Chris Hemsworth. The hunky Chris Hemsworth and Halle Berry are in that one, a heist thriller, right here on Mirror Domains.